Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here, and I am here today with the Dexibell Vivo S9. This is their top of the line flagship model, and it is so wonderful. Let me tell you what actually happened. Now, I planned on spending 1 week to get thoroughly familiar with this so I could do a thorough review. It actually wound up taking 2 weeks, not because it's complicated or anything, but because the sounds and the feel was so good. I wound up spending the first entire week just playing this. The piano, the organs, it was so good. I mean, I was like high playing this thing. You've got to experience this for yourself because the sounds are so good, as is the keyboard. Now, like I mentioned, this is their flagship model. But besides this model, there's three other models for piano and organs, that kind of thing. So they have the Dexibell S7, they have the Dexibell Classico L3, and they have the Combo J7. Now, all three of those, the S7 is basically their top of the line stage piano specializing in piano. And that is built into here. Now, the Classico L3, that is an awesome board with classical organs and all kinds of stuff in there. And then you've got the Combo J7. It's a digital organ with tone wheel and transistor organs. So you've got the best organs and the best pianos and all that stuff built into here with the combination of those three boards. Now, each one of those boards costs $2,500 a piece, US. $7,500. This board is $3,999 US. The key bed that's built into here, it's the latest. It's a Fatar TP400W. It was designed specifically for Dexibell for the S9. Now, the TP400W, the W is for wood, so it's a hybrid wood and plastic keys. It feels really good. It's got ebony and ivory key tops. And it's done in such a way that when you're playing piano, you've got probably one of the best key actions out there. And when you're playing organ, it completely changes it so that you've got that nice keyboard for organ. So it's really cool the way they did that. It's kind of like the way Nord does their things with their stage piano, except the key action is a little nicer here for pianos. Now, I have to be honest with you, when I first got this, I was messing around with the key action. I wanted to see what that was like because that's real important to me as a pianist. So, they have all these different settings for key touch velocity. They have normal, they have light, light plus, and light plus plus, and they have heavy and heavy plus and heavy plus plus. Plus, they have fixed. Fixed meaning no matter how hard you hit it or how softly, it's always going to be the same volume. So, anyway, I chose light plus, because I kind of like it on that lighter side. But I was a little disappointed when I first did that because it wasn't quite to my liking. Then I discovered this. Now let's go into the menu over here and we're going to go over to settings. We're going to go down to keyboard touch and we're going to go to the right. Like I said, it has light plus plus and all these other settings that you can choose from. Okay? Really cool. So I went into light, which feels really good. Don't get me wrong. But I noticed this velocity setting right here. You press that and look at, see, I did my own velocity map right here. So you can tab over to different parts of your velocity setting and you can actually change that to whatever you like. So if you're familiar with Piano Tech, it's the same kind of idea. So you can actually tailor this to exactly the way you want it. And once I did that, boy, you could not pry me away from this keyboard no matter what. I was playing this thing night and day. I was having such a good time with it. But anyway, enough of that. Let's start covering the keyboard. And first, we're going to rattle off some specifications and all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to get into the actual layout and the functionality and the sounds and that kind of stuff. So, like I mentioned, piano engine, organ engine, it's all built in. Plus, you have sampled sounds as well. And, oh, I forgot to mention, on the key action, you also have aftertouch and you have escapement. So, important things to mention, and I'm going to demonstrate the aftertouch here a little bit later. And of course, like all the Dexibell series, there's 320 oscillators built into this thing. And what that means to you, that pretty much translates to unlimited polyphony. Now, there's a lot of other manufacturers out there that boast about their polyphony. 256, which is really good. 192, also very good. Some have 384, even 512, very high. This virtually unlimited because of the 320 oscillators. So it's really cool. The other thing about Dexibell, across the line, not just on this board, but the samples that they have are like 3 to 5 times longer than your typical sample in other manufacturers' board. And when you go to the bass notes of the piano over here, you're looking at 15-second samples, which is unheard of. I mean, it's great. It's nothing but a big, huge benefit for the player. But when you go to another model, it might be 3 or 5 seconds, and then they loop that. And if you listen carefully, you can hear that loop. You don't hear that here. There's no looping at all. It's a long sample. All of these. So that is really cool. It sounds more like a real acoustic piano in that sense. They've got 100 presets, 85 sounds or tones, which you can add to, by the way. In fact, it's kind of like Nord. You go onto the Dexibell website and you can download all kinds of new sounds that you can load onto here. Plus, it has the added ability to be able to load sound font 2 files that you can find anywhere on the internet. So you can load those into here as well. And there's all kinds of sound font 2 files floating around on the internet. Anything from really cool instrument sounds to everyday sounds like traffic, car horns, screaming, that kind of stuff. Everything. Now, as far as dimensions go, it is 50 inches by 5.12 inches by 13.94 inches, and it only weighs 44 pounds, which for something like this is really good. It's not bad at all. 44 pounds is actually workable. And this is metal. So it's actually built like a tank. You don't have to worry about that. Metal, wood side panels. It is really a tank. In addition to this being a really cool stage piano, it is also a master MIDI controller with 4 zones labeled A, B, C, D over here. And you've got complete control over all 4 of those, as I will show you later on in the video. And of course, their big thing is this T2L, or True to Life. It's a button here that you press and you get all kinds of control over all the parameters available to you for whatever instrument you're playing. If it's a piano and you're familiar with Kawai, they've got that virtual technician. This is very similar to that and more. So if you're playing something else, it's going to go ahead and give you all the parameters that you can adjust for what's available for that particular instrument. We'll get to that also a little bit later in the video. All right, in addition to the MIDI, which has MIDI in, out, and through for the standard 5-pin legacy stuff, you can also take an external keyboard that only has USB. and plug it into here, and you will have control of this board. You just set it up through one of these external keyboard zones, and you're all set to go. Now, it's also got a built in recorder and all that kind of stuff, which is really great. So, we are talking about 24-bit, 48 kilohertz, 32 float sounds right here. So, you're going to get the best sound possible when you do a recording. And you just put in your USB stick over here, you record to it, and then you take that out, put that on your computer, send it to wherever you want. Now, one of the cool things about this, and I don't know any other board that has this aside from one of those cheap Behringers. I think the Motor 49 has motorized faders, but this has 9 motorized faders. And yes, your first guess is going to be it controls the drawbars for the organ where the organ stops. And you're right, it does do that. But it also doubles, triples actually, as a mixer so that you can control the different sounds of the 4 layers as well as the reverb of the different 4 sounds that you can have here at once. Also, it's an EQ, so you can control the EQ for everything as well. And it also controls the external MIDI zones. So, quite a bit of stuff here. And since it has these different functions and everything, it has these different switches here to switch it over for mixer or MIDI control or EQ or whatever. So, whatever you've done on the keyboard, you save that kind of almost like a scene that Roland would call it. It saves everything you've done into a scene. And when you restore that, it restores everything about these as well. So when you switch over to MIDI control, go back to mixer or EQ, it remembers everything. Really cool. So much better than basically on another board. You don't have the sliders move to where you were. It's so much nicer. That's why they do these kind of things in recording studios with actual sliders. So you've got that here. Very cool. Now I'm only going to talk another few minutes, then we're going to get into the board. So we've got 24 reverb effects. We've got a rotary speaker simulation. We've got overdrive, and we've got vibrato and chorus effects for organ, and so on and so forth. Then we've got an independent DSP effects, 8 of them, 17 types, but 8 of them with seamless change technology. So when you go ahead and change from one instrument to another, you're not going to notice anything like an abrupt cutoff of the previous instrument. It's going to be very smooth. Now, as far as when you play back something, like on a USB stick that you put into here, it can play WAV, AIFF, or MP3 files. So that's pretty cool too. And you can go ahead and play along with it. And the recorder is 48 kilohertz, 32-bit floating. So you got some really high quality playback when you go ahead and play that back. Now, it comes with a continuous damper pedal. Let me show you. This is a Dexibell damper pedal. And kind of like Roland, it's got this little rubber part that you fold out. Your foot goes here. So actually the pedal doesn't slide all over the place. Really good. So half damper capability with this. Now, this is really class right here. It comes with a clear acrylic music rest. How cool is that? And when you put stuff on here, it doesn't move all over the place and fall off like other boards. It stays there. But that see-through acrylic is really class. Now, you can also download an app with this, an editor. It's for iOS, but the downside, it's not for Android. And we are an Android shop here, so we can't demo Apple products. Otherwise, I would demo that for you. But that is one downside that I have to this, is they don't have something for Android. All right, now when you heard me play the piano, and that was a Vivo Grand. And basically, it comes with a bunch of built-in pianos, but you can go ahead to their site and download their Platinum, which is their premium pianos, and they have it for Fazioli and Steinway and Yamaha. And it was one other one. But it sounds really good. I have some demos on that. If you search my YouTube channel, you'll find some demos on that with, I believe it was the S1 that I was playing that with. Okay, so now let's go through the board. We're going to start on the right hand side and move down to the left. So we have the power, and the unique thing about the power is I don't know how about you, but there's been a few times I played other boards and we are playing live, in a concert or whatever, and I accidentally hit the power switch. Well, watch what happens when you hit the power switch here. And ask you, do you want to turn it off? Yes or no? You cannot turn this off just by hitting the power switch. It's a two-step process. Okay, so I'm going to say no, I don't want to turn it off. All right, then we have the master volume down here below that. Up here, we've got a series of switches or buttons over here. So we've got a sound library. This is actually where you load your own sound libraries that you get from the Dexibell website, or you have the sound libraries that are built in available here to you. Then you have this thing labeled chord. So let me demonstrate. Let's go over into strings right here. Okay, I've got easy strings. That's fine. Now, let me go ahead and hit enhancer. Hear the difference? This is regular. This is enhancer. All right, now. Hear that? That's enhancer. This is regular. Next to that, they have a button called freeze. So if you find a chord that you like this, go ahead and hit freeze. Now, from that point on, I can use one finger to reproduce that chord structure for whatever key I press. And it'll remember that until the next time that you change that chord or turn freeze off. Very cool. Then there's the player and recorder. So you can go ahead and let's go to the piano. Go ahead and record. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and play that and hit record too, I can add to it. Okay, so that's really cool stuff right there. You can go ahead and dub over your dubs, and you're not going to degrade the quality because it's not reel-to-reel tape. This is digital. You can add as many things as you like. So this is an easy way to get your ideas out of your head onto basically a scratch pad. And of course, there's more to it, and maybe I'll put that in another video so that you can know exactly how to use that. Okay, then we have the octave, transpose, and aftertouch. And basically, you want to change the octave. would you do that? Because when you want to break this up into layers or zones, and you've got multiple parts, maybe you got your piano here in the middle, and you want to add a flute, and you're putting that down here, but a flute is actually played 2 octaves higher. That's where that would come in. Because you have up to 4 different things. You're controlling different things, not just this board, but external boards as well, because this is a master MIDI controller. So that's one of the reasons you want to do that. Okay, transpose, we all know what that is. All right, so easy to get to. It's just a button away. Okay, aftertouch, let me go back into strings and play a string. If I turn aftertouch on, so if I press these after I've already played them, that's what aftertouch is. Alright, cool stuff. And if I hold aftertouch, check this out. I can go ahead and turn this on or off for each one of the 4 zones here. Zone A through D, or for the main, coupled, lower, and pedal. Now let me get to that next. Main, coupled, lower, and pedal. These are the 4 different parts that you can have on this machine right here. Main, of course, is your, let's go back to piano. That's the main sound that you've got spread across all 88 keys. The button next to that is labeled coupled. Now, you might find that terminology a little bit confusing, but another word for that is layer. So if you press coupled, you now have a layer. So you can hear a piano, and you can see I've got a warm pad over here. Okay, now this pad that just happens to be selected right now. Now, whatever is underlined has the focus. So if the Vivo Live is underlined, that's the piano I have. If I want to change that to a Vivo Grand, okay, now I want to change the coupled or layered sound, I just give that the focus by going down and underlining it. Now I can choose any of these categories or any of the subcategories underneath. So if I choose a string category, these are the different choices available to me in that category. This is piano and easy strings. Piano and attack strings. So it's real easy to layer. We'll turn these on. If I don't have anything lit up here, then I'm not playing anything. It's almost like local off. Alright, so let's go back to my piano. Now, let's say I want to split the keyboard. I want to have a bass on the bottom, and I want a keyboard at the top. So we're going to go. See how this is labeled split, these 2 keys? So we have a lower and a pedal. Now let's choose lower. Okay. And you'll see these 2 things right now. The lower is set for space Vox. I don't want that. I'm going to choose the guitar category with bass. All right, so for the lower, I'm going to choose acoustic bass and ride. All right, so this is really cool. Now, as far as the split point, I can change that split point by just holding down one of these split. I get the split point coming up, all right, and it is set for B flat 5. I can just press any key at this point, and that becomes the split point. Let's say I want it right here. Okay. Okay, so you got the idea. So basically, I have two sounds that I can layer together to the left of the split point and two sounds that I can layer together to the right of the split point. Now, if I don't have split at all, none of these two, then both of these, main and coupled or main and layered, take up the whole keyboard and I can have both of those sounds. Let's say I want to have the whole keyboard and I want to layer four sounds. Very simple. I hold this down. I get the split point again. I'll go to split. See how it's on? I can turn it off. And now I can have up to four sounds as one layer across the entire keyboard. How cool is that? So we got piano right now. All right. Let's go to coupled and let's make that a guitar bass. Okay, and ride. That's cool. All right. Let's add a lower, which again, since we have split turned off, it's going to take up the whole keyboard. Let's make that strings and large strings. And one more. Plucked percussive. Let's try a groovy clav. All right, so now I have four different sounds that are layered across the entire keyboard. How cool is that? Now, this is where these faders come in. I have it set for mixer right now. So the function of these faders serve as my mixer. So all of these main translates to this rightmost, and then coupled translates to the next one, lower the next one, and pedal the next one. So when I move these are the volumes, and you can see that here, of each one of these. So the main sound, I can control the volume of that here. The next one, here. That's really cool. And again, if I hold this down, now I'm going to turn split back on. These two are to the left of the split point. These two are to the right. And again, these four for the mixer still apply. Each one controls each one of these. Okay. Now, just to make things a little simpler, let's just have the piano right now. Okay, the next four. Now we know these first four on the right control the volumes of these four selected instruments. The next four to the left of those control the reverb of those. Okay, so really cool. You've got right at your fingertips the volume of each different instrument that you choose, up to four, and the reverb of each different one. How cool is that? I mean, right there in front of you, you've got that. And when you go ahead and save this whole thing, it remembers these slider settings and it goes right back to those. Now, in addition, it gets better, folks. In addition, we can control the EQ of everything. So the rightmost fader is over here. This is EQ. And you can see when you move one, it shows up on the screen. This one translates to high gain. Then you got mid gain and a mid frequency. So you basically have a sweepable mid and the low gain. Let's just have piano. Okay, so you see where that is? And if I want to go back to just the mixer, that's where I left off. I want to go back to EQ, that's where I left off. Okay, so very cool stuff. You've got control for everything. You can save all this into a registration, and maybe you'll have this registration labeled Hilton Ballroom, and another one for Marriott, and another one for Joe's Bar, and another one for some other place. So you have the perfect room acoustics that you've fine-tuned this piano for. Very cool. I don't know of any other instrument you can do that where you've got the faders that just come right into the place that you need them to. That is so cool. Okay. Now, while we're working on just this side of the keyboard, we haven't even gotten to this yet. We've touched on the sliders. But this side here, and again, you choose a category like percussive, and from there, you choose your sound, okay? But when you choose your category, you get the category name up on top. So it's not just you pick the piano, you've got 1 through 9. If you pick the piano and you hit the right button and you see a page 2, you've got even more choices. Very cool. That's the piano. But if you go to other things, like let's go to the electric piano over here, and we're set for dyno stage. That is basically a Fender Rhodes. Listen to this. That is one of the finest Fender Rhodes I've heard. That is really cool. So let's go over here into Whirly. All right, so I think we all know that one. Now let's just go to the organ real quick. Okay. Let's go into strings over here. Let's go into a fast orchestra. Okay. into brass synth over here. And let's go to 5 analog. So this board is really capable of handling just about anything you want to throw at it, and it sounds so good. Now, when you go to the memory section, this is where you can store your own stuff, but it also has a lot of stuff already built into here, a lot of scenes. So this could be the equivalent of combis, stuff like that. So let's check a few of those out. Let's start out with, let's go to 6-3. Keith Emerson. Really cool. Just like Keith Emerson's sound over there. Let's try another one. Let's go to 7. So it really replicates the sound of the 60s or 70s or whatever it is that you're trying to get to. Let's go to a multi-stack. This is an even better representation of what I just played earlier. All right, now let's go to, okay, the Vox. And this is what I played earlier. Now, let's go to the pipe organ sample over here. Very cool. Now, when we are in, let's go back to the sounds and we'll go back to the organs. That activates this organ section over here. So we can choose right now. Let's get rid of this. Okay. And we're going to do it manual. So we can control everything over here. Listen to this. We're bringing everything in. All right, that's a tone wheel organ right there. Tone wheel 1. If we hit organ type, we can go to tone wheel 2. Hear that percussion, which you also have control over here. You got a percussion section. You can turn it on and have soft or fast or seconds or thirds. Very cool stuff over here. All right, let's go to a farfisa, which is a transistor organ. Oh, that's a little loud. We have Vox. This is so cool. I can control all of this all on my own. Then we have a pipe organ here. Anyway, you get the idea. Then there's user 1 and user 2. This is where you bring your own organs in. Like I said, you can download these from the Dexibell website, or you can find SoundFont 2 files for that as well. One thing I want to point out is, we go back over here. Let's go to the guitar bass. All right, so we're going to go to guitar bass, page 2. Now, we got a couple things here. One is labeled pedal bass and pedal double bass. So, although I can press pedal and play that here, now, what these two are designed for is a pedal board. So if you have an optional pedal board, you can play this. And if you choose one of these two settings here, if you choose pedal bass, or that other one, pedal double bass, these are designed for an optional pedal board, although you can play it here perfectly well. But if you're playing it with an optional pedal board, that's where this comes in real handy, because both the double bass and the pedal bass are designed with just a little bit extra sustain, so it makes it easier to play like rolling bass parts with it. It's really, really cool. Now, the other thing I wanted to get to is this morphing section. I mean, we got so many other things here. We all know about overdrive. We all know about vibrato and chorus. You can put these on and everything. You have the rotary, the Leslie. You can actually control the speeds with it. And in addition to just turning it on for slow and fast, you even have a brake so that it slows down to 0. But this morphing thing, if you have another kind of expression pedal hooked into the morphing jack, this is really cool. So let me demonstrate. I'm going to hold down morph, and we're going to see over here auto or pedal. I'm going to put this on pedal, and this is for the main part. So main, let's have a tone wheel on the main. All right, now let's go back to morphing. All right, from, let's just make it easy. I'm going to put every other one of these down. This is going to be my from. Then I'm going to move to 2. And I'm going to put the other ones down. Okay? So I've got from and 2. All right? So when I'm playing something and I use my morph pedal, look at this. So that is so cool. I can set up a from and a 2, and it doesn't even have to be limited to what I just showed you. This is so cool. You can do a lot of stuff with this. That is what an expression pedal hooked up to the morph input does. So, speaking of inputs, let's go to the back panel and let's show you what the back panel is all about. We're going to go from left to right. So the first thing on the left side, I actually have a grounding terminal here. So in the rare event that you have some noise or whatever, you can hook this up with a wire, screw it in there, and hook that up to a little screw that's in the middle of your AC mains wall outlet. and you have a ground. Next, you have your DC power in 24 volts DC. They give you the AC adapter. Next, you've got your left and right unbalanced quarter-inch TS jacks, so that you can hook this up as usual to an amp, a mixer, an audio interface, or whatever. They're unbalanced, so you might want to keep this down to 10 feet or less. If you want to go more than that, you should go with the balanced outputs, which are next to those, the left and right XLRs. Those are balanced, so you can go a lot further distance with those. Next to that, you've got your pedal inputs. The first one is a damper pedal, and that is basically a continuous pedal. They give you one, and it's a really nice one, so that is included. Then the next one is an assignable foot pedal. That's basically a switch, so you can use that. You can actually go into the keyboard here and assign what you want that to control. Then next to that, you've got two assignable expression pedals. Usually you'll use an expression pedal for volume and that kind of thing. And the one next to that is for morphing, which is what I just showed you. It's an expression pedal, but it's used for morphing. Then you have your standard legacy MIDI in, out, and through. Then you've got your USB computer port, the one that goes to your computer, so you can hook it up through a DAW. And by the way, that also carries audio in addition to MIDI, all on a single cable. The one next to that is your USB memory port, so you can actually hook up a flash or a thumb drive to that. That's what you'll actually need to do a recording with. Then you've got your 1/8-inch stereo audio in, so you can hook up a MP3 player, iPad or iPhone or whatever, and play music with. And the next two are headphones, both in 1/4 and 1/8-inch jacks. Now, I did want to mention T2L. T2L is Dexibell's true-to-life controls over here. So let's say you're on a piano like the Vivo Grand and you press T2L, you get all kinds of controls here that you can control the hammer noise, the key off noise, the damper noise, the string resonance. Actually, let me demonstrate that. If I'm holding down a chord without even playing anything, anything that I hit that is a cousin or harmonic of one of these keys, C, E, G, and C, will resonate. It's not doing that because this is set to 0. So let's go ahead and move that up. Now you can hear the resonance. You don't hear it with A or F because I'm not holding down one of those, but and you can control how much of that by setting this knob. Off. You can do the same thing with damper resonance and so on and so forth. And then when you go to the velocity settings, again, what I showed you with the key velocity settings, you can do that for this individual instrument right here. That is so cool because when you change from one piano to another, you might want a different key velocity setting, and you can do that here. All right, so let's exit out of here. That was T2L for piano. So let's pick something else like strings, fast orchestra. If I hit T2L now, I get a completely different set of what I control for this. So we see the sound, that's the sound I picked, the attack, the hold, the decay, sustain, release. That's basically setting the sound envelope right there. And again, the velocity, you can control that as well. Very cool. Now, let's get out of there and let's go into guitar, okay? And a pedal bass. I hit T2L for that. I get the same kind of thing, the sustain, but now I have a pluck parameter as well. And again, the velocity thing. So depending on what instrument you pick, this T2L offers you a way to fine tune whatever instrument you're on. And you've got the two wheels over here, pitch, bend, and modulation, also assignable so that you can assign anything else you want to those. Now, for the middle section, the audio effects. All right, so in this section, you'll notice that there's three different sections, one for main, one for coupled, and one for lower slash pedal. Okay. Now we have an effect that we can choose from, A or B. And actually, let's go ahead and go to piano. For A, we have reverb, and for B, we have equalizer. This is for my piano. Now I'm on A right now. So this is reverb. I can control the level, and I can control the room size. And if I go to B, now I'm controlling basically a simple equalizer, low gain and high gain. That's what these two. Okay. And if I have a coupled instrument or a layered instrument here, let's go to strings. Same thing over here. I pick A, I got an equalizer. B, I've got reverb. And the same thing if I had another one down here, lower, turn that on, I can assign that as well. There's defaults for A and B, but you can change the two effects that you want to control to be whatever you want it to be. And then you can control that with these knobs. Now, if you're using this as a master controller over here, I don't have it set up for that, but if you are, you can hit 2 MIDI, and then you're controlling MIDI stuff with this. And then there's two assignable switches here, assign 1 and assign 2. They can be made to do whatever you want to assign them to. And I hope this gave you enough of an understanding so that you can see just how powerful this board really is. And I guarantee you, if you got this board, once you go ahead and set your touch velocity to exactly the way you want to, the way I showed you how to do that, it's going to be hard to pry you away from this board. You're going to have so much fun. Anyway, I hope that this has taught you something about this board and that you learned about this board and you enjoyed this video. Piano Man Chuck. Peace out. Thanks for watching.